I think that US foreign policy is what political scientists call low salience in most cases. It's not a prominent political issue. If we remember, for example, the 2020 presidential campaign, there was really no discussion of foreign policy during the debates. And so I think it has been not a super high focus of attention of the American people until fairly recently, right? So the American people began to become exhausted with the so called forever wars. And I think that the foreign policy establishment took the election of Donald Trump, for example, as a real warning sign that the broad consensus in the foreign policy community here in Washington may have been dissonant with where the public was. And so there was a need to sort of redouble efforts to get public buy in for the policies that they preferred. I think there's always been a disconnect between the enthusiasm in Washington, for example, about globalization and free trade, and that in the rest of the country. And it's not to say that the whole country hates trade and globalization. And indeed, many, many millions of Americans make their livings on the basis of trade and globalization. But there wasn't really the sort of enthusiasm that the policy elite felt shared in the electorate. And I think that has sort of grown. And in many cases, people are blaming problems on globalization and trade that in fact are not caused by globalization and trade. But this has really sort of been brewing, I think, over the past 2 or 3 decades. It's quite clear that Donald Trump plugged into something that no politician in recent memory had plugged into with his campaign for the 2016 presidency. There is a real sense that America is shot through with problems, right? Trump was going to make America great again. The idea being that it had fallen from greatness. And, there are a lot of people, tens of millions of people in this country, that believe that the reason America has fallen from greatness are things like the belief that industry has left the United States, traditional manufacturing jobs have left the United States. And again, these ideas, in some cases, are incorrect, but people are blaming interaction with the international economy and indeed interaction with foreign countries more generally for the plight that lower and middle class communities in the United States face in the present.